Welcome to another GameDev video for Hierarchy, specifically GameDev video number 8, I believe. Sorry about the delay in getting this one out. It's been 2 weeks since the last one, but I've been very busy in real life, outside of the development world. So I've had to get a lot done. However, I've managed to get a couple of spare minutes, so I thought I'd, well, not a couple of spare minutes, probably 20 spare minutes. However, I've wasted 10 because I've made this video once already, but it didn't record all of it for some obscure reason, and I didn't notice till the end. So I've wasted some time. However, got this video ready to go. So I've been very busy, but I haven't got that much done recently, but mainly things in the background, a lot of the structure and fundamentals of the solution that will hopefully build a better game. So let's get straight into it. If we have a look at the world, nothing much has really changed here. Some things in the background, like I said. So let's start off with some news. Obviously, I drafted out a very terrible drawing of what I want the world to look like from a top-down perspective, probably from about this height, in terms of positions of mountains, unwalkable areas, trees, etc. And that's on paper. I recently converted it, part of it at least, into a photoshopped top-down, very single colour document, which I'll show here. So let's have a quick look. As you can see, like I said, very basic, but it helps. It's more, it's a lot clearer in terms of what areas are what and etc. So if I just quickly annotate it, so these areas over here, you can see. Oh God, not sure what happened there. These areas, these are all trees, tree lines, and you can walk through the trees. Not only do they provide cover, but they'll provide resources, which I'll speak about later on. We've obviously got water. The greys are the mountains, completely unwalkable. These areas can't be, you can't traverse over these. The light green, however, are areas that can be climbed to from invisible climbing nodes. Currently, though, there was a earlier video where I did show off these climbing nodes, but you won't be able to see them. They'll just be slightly different cliffs, so you'll be able to determine what they are, but they won't just be things that stick out. Here we'll have ramps as well for players to get up, because then you don't want to just have one way up and then a player can guard it. We'll have multiple areas up, surprise somebody, get up there, kill them, and just run away victorious. And yeah, it's just a very basic way, but you can see there'll be various routes of play. In addition, it may look a little bit bland, because, well, it is, it's just an environment, and although it's a beginning document, there will also be landmarks and points of interest. For example, there's one here on the original document, which I have next to me. I can't show you on this video, as it's a physical piece of paper, I'm afraid. There's another one here, and there is a bigger one here. Obviously there'll be a lot more, but these are the initial ones that I wanted to have, and as such I would work on adding these to the game. Now, if you go with me 2 seconds, I've just had an absolute crisis and the mouse has run out of battery, so give me 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, yep. So these are the ones that we knew we would have, and I'm hoping to implement these first. I've got somebody potentially working on a mesh for the terrain, and once that's done, I'm going to use an asset pack which I've seen, combined with a couple of other models that I've got somebody working on. More about that later on in the next video perhaps. And I'm going to work on getting the environment up and running, because once you've got something more visual, people are more willing to pay attention to something, which is a shame, as this is mainly mechanics up until now. But it's good. You know, I've got a lot of progress, and I'm hoping to see some more attention, perhaps some ideas, some feedback, what people really want from the game, and I can then go on to explain more about what Hierarchy really is. So, moving away from that good news, project-wise, it's time to show off the things that I've been working on. So, debuffs. The first debuffs that I showed was, or the first buff even, was heal. So if we go and have a look at heal, you can see, like I've shown before, inherits from type buff, which obviously is a status effect. It has duration, the target living object, which is in the base, and finally the on-GUI call, which will eventually draw the small square responsible for highlighting and displaying what buffs are on who and what debuffs. So in addition to that, I've also got slow now, which is of type debuff, which gets the movement engine of the specific user, gets a speed, and gives them 30% of their current speed. It used to be 10, however, the system looked quite ridiculous when the guy was playing the sprinting animation and not really going very far, so I'll have to implement a way to pass down a different call to the animator and make it do the correct one, so that way it'll look a little bit more realistic. In addition, I've got stun. A lot less code in this one, but it simply passes down a state to the target living object, and if we have a look at the state enum, idle, walking, running, slowed, stunned, panic, attacking. This is what I've got at the moment. Of course, this is more than likely going to change, and that list will certainly grow. But it's a good way of handling in the movement engine. I don't know if the code is readily available to see. Certainly lots of comments which need to be removed. But it's around there somewhere, where we just say, okay, well if the state is, for example, stunned or slowed, then do this. And it's a very simple and effective manner and mechanism of adding new status effects to the game. So if we just quickly dive in, ignore the leaf particle effect, I'll explain that later on. I've spawned 2 enemies, let's just walk over here, and bear in mind there's stun on, and you can see I'm clicking, and movement is, of course, I keep getting stunned because there we go, got away. The cooldown of their move is too fast and the stun lasts too long. Terrible balance. But if I teleport away, you can see I do get away after a slight amount of time. So let them stun me, teleport away, and there we go, stun's gone. It simply adds the component to the player or the living object, and then upon its completion kills itself, removes itself from the player, and they're then able to move again. So that's all coming along pretty well. Now these green leaf particle effects, they're simply for, and get excited, the HunterAI, which I'm implementing. It will look around for players, go along its waypoint route, or search random areas or areas of a lot of activity, and if it gets a hint of one of these, obviously these are visual but they won't be in the game, track marks, as you can see here, not grouped together, very unneat, it will then look in nearby locations for more track marks, and after it finds a small amount, perhaps 3 or 4, it will then hunt specifically for that player. You can then at that point say that it has the scent of the player, or perhaps the distinguishing values which would lead it to you. At that point you're going to have to run. You're going to have to try and go somewhere that it can't, perhaps an area that you can climb up, so maybe go up here, lead it away, and then boom, teleport away, and it will lose your scent. It will continue to look for you until a certain amount of time has passed, or it really can't find you, and then it will go and look for somebody else instead. But it is a key feature of Hierarchy, and trust me when I say it's going to be a big system that will be in play for what I've got planned. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe in a week or two I'll have something more to show on that, but it's definitely going to be a big part of the game. Now moving on from that, you can see in my inventory that I actually have a piece of stick and a piece of coal. Now that's because I've been working on a crafting system. It's very basic and it's mainly logic at the moment. I considered various systems, from a branch-based approach to a grid system, and finally I've settled on, I had seen it somewhere, a bitwise system, but I needed some helping hand to get my brain around it, because it just wasn't working and I think I was overthinking it. But now that system's in place. It's very basic at the moment, but basically what I do, although I haven't got a GUI to represent that system, I have hotkeyed P to be craft anything in my inventory. So in my inventory, although it says I've got 0 of each, that actually means I've got 1, because ingredients or materials for a recipe currently don't have a number against them, although they will later on. It's just because I've plugged it into the existing item system. So if I press P and we keep an eye on the debug log, you can see there that it has crafted a torch, and that is because, as you can imagine, a stick and a piece of coal craft magically a torch. Now it's a pretty good system. If I just quickly jump into the recipe manager, and you can have a look, I've got a dictionary here of ingredients to items, and a coal and a stick magically creates a torch. Stick, plastic and a sensor creates a detection pole, and wire, stick, and an alarm will create a tripwire. And it's a very simple system for crafting, etc. Now, of course, these are in code, but they'll eventually be in some sort of database system, because I can't have 200, 300 lines of recipes here. But it's very simple how it all works and what the ingredients look like. Crafting ingredient, usable entity, it's all coming along very well. Just need to interface a lot of these parts to make it more generic. But yeah, it's a good craft system, very basic, but also will hopefully lead to being quite an advanced system. And it'll be that you can harvest and get these materials from anywhere. But it's all coming along very well, and I'm hoping that RPG and survivalist fans will enjoy a crafting system, as I can promise you it's going to be integral to the game. Apart from that, as much as you'll be able to craft on the go, such as basic survival items, maybe a torch or simple food rations, you cannot craft some items, maybe weapons or advanced items like the detection pole, just by yourself. They'll use a material which I haven't spoken about yet, but will only be you'll only be able to really utilize and meld this material at certain places, which will be called forges. Genius name, obviously, because no one else has ever used it. And they'll be called, preliminary at least, soul forges. These will be randomly placed across the map in a number of areas, and you'll probably become familiar with them over time, but they will change and rotate. And these soul forges will allow you to use specific materials and blueprints and create interesting and rare items. Now the problem is that because these things are going to be randomly placed, you're going to want to find them early on, because not only are they randomly placed, but they also only have a limited amount of uses. So early on you're going to want to get these, use them, and build up your inventory so you won't be the hunted. You want to just be the strongest guy around, and you want to have a nice selection of items available to use. And the key to that is to find these soul forges. Anyway, that's a system that I'll talk about later on, but lots is going on, and after I get back from holiday I will continue development and hopefully have something more interesting to show, maybe some more visuals, and we'll see how the progress goes with the models and the mesh for the terrain, and we'll go from there. But again, thank you for watching the game development video. I really appreciate the support. Follow me on Twitter, watch this project on IndieDb, subscribe on YouTube, share it, and please do give feedback, because it's getting to a good stage now, and hoping to have something playable released soon, or something worth showing. Maybe get out of this very, very dull and boring test environment I've got here. But yeah, it's all good things. So thanks again, and I'll speak again soon. Thanks, guys.